let's look at the metabolism of nitrogen. So why it is important? Nitrogen is a very important component for the building of the body of the plant. Plant require nitrogen for many purposes. So how will the plant get this nitrogen? Nitrogen is present in the atmosphere in such a huge amount, so there has to be a mechanism so that the atmospheric nitrogen can be consumed by the plants. So how is this metabolism taking place? Let's have a look. Plants cannot absorb nitrogen in the molecular form. It can be absorbed by the plants in the nitrate form or in the ammonium form. So here is a cycle, that is nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is the most critical element. Apart from carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, nitrogen is the most prevalent element in the living organisms. Nitrogen, it is found in the essential components like the proteins, in the nucleic acids, in growth regulators and in very vitamins also. Plants compete with the microbes for the limited nitrogen that is available in the soil. Thus, nitrogen is a limiting nutrient for both natural and agricultural ecosystem, because nitrogen is present in a very less amount when we consider the microbes. The microbes, the decomposers which are there in the soil, they have very limited amount of nitrogen. So plant also compete for that nitrogen. So there is a huge competition for the nitrogen, and hence it becomes a limiting element. Nitrogen exists as two nitrogen atoms which are joined by very strong triple covalent bonds. So they are talking about the nitrogen molecule, that it is consisting of two nitrogen atoms joined by triple bond. N2 gas of the atmosphere is converted into ammonia by the process of nitrogen fixation. So the term nitrogen fixation, it is basically the conversion of the atmospheric nitrogen into different compounds so that it can be consumed by the plants. So this term fixation, it actually means reduction. So the atmospheric nitrogen which is there, it is reduced into different compounds so that it can be consumed by the plants. In nature, lightning and ultraviolet radiation provide enough energy to convert the nitrogen into nitrogen oxide, so it can be NO, NO2, N2 or anything. Industrial combustions, forest fires, automobile exhaust and the power generating stations are also the sources of atmospheric nitrogen oxides. A regular supply of nitrogen to the plants, it is maintained through a nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle is a regular circulation of the nitrogen amongst the living organisms. Nitrogen cycle, it consists of four processes. What are those? First is nitrogen fixation, second is ammonification, third is nitrification and fourth is denitrification. So let's have a look on each one of them in detail. Now let's have a look on the first process, that is nitrogen fixation. So nitrogen fixation, it is the conversion of the inert atmospheric nitrogen or the dinitrogen into usable compounds of nitrogen like the nitrate, ammonia and the amino acids. There are two methods of nitrogen fixation. First is abiological, second is biological. So the first process, that is abiological or the physical nitrogen fixation, it occurs in four steps. So the first one, conversion of the nitrogen into nitric oxide due to lightning. The second one, oxidation of the nitrogen oxide into nitrogen dioxide. Third one, nitrogen dioxide reaches the soil in the form of nitrous and nitric acid when dissolved in the rainwater. And then these react with the alkali of the soil and form the nitrates, that is in the absorbable form. On the industrial scale, abiological fixation occurs by Haber-Bosch nitrates process at the high pressure and high temperature. Conversion of the gaseous nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds by the living organisms, it is by bacteria or by the cyanobacteria, it is referred as biological nitrogen fixation. So till now we have seen how the industrial processes or how the light, it is responsible for the conversion of the atmospheric nitrogen. Now it is the bacteria, it is the cyanobacteria which are responsible for this conversion. So this is biological nitrogen fixation, the second type.